What's up, everybody? This is Bob's Three-Toed Warriors with the We're on the Streets. Today on the live stream, we're talking about unpopular player values, and the show is going to start. It's going to start right now. All right, well, welcome back. It's Bob's Three-Toed Warriors from Studio 1329 with the very first Word on the Streets Fantasy Football Hump Day Happy Hour. I definitely need to shorten that name because it's way too long. There's way too many words there. But we're going to talk about unpopular player values, and I have some great guests on the show to help me out with that. So let me go around the table here and introduce them. Chris, what's the good word?
Oh, me. I'm up first. Hi, guys. My name's Chris, born and raised in Detroit, hence the surname. You can find me on Twitter at Detroit Beastie. Super excited about the upcoming baseball schedule. Got 2 DFS articles out already, published yesterday and today. Go check them out. Anyone wants to DM, chat, anything, I'm willing to help and support. Thanks for having me, Bob.
Hey, no problem. Appreciate it. Don, what's a good word, sir?
Oh, what's going on, guys? I'm here in the Midwest, coming from a little town near St. Louis, and I'm more of an IDP advocate, not going to lie to you. I've been pushing that IDP, and I am now a writer for threecoastsports.com, up and coming. Love the guys. They brought me in, and I think we're pushing out a lot of great content, and couldn't be more excited to join you guys on today's show. That's
awesome. Awesome. Detroit Beastie over there loves himself some IDP as well, so you're in good company. Don't worry about it.
Glad to finally meet you, Don.
Nice.
All right, Kevin, what you got? What's a good word, sir?
Hey, guys. I'm from California, over on the West Coast. Grew up in Chico, went to Chico State, and I am the director of Devi for Hammercast.com. I do scouting. Right now I have 4 articles up on quarterbacks, running backs, wide receivers, and tight ends, 10 each for college players that you can find. And besides that, you can find me at DuBois_22, and anything you need. I'm a commissioner for Devi Leagues. If you want to try to get in one, just message me and we can get you started.
Awesome. And last but not least, the other Bob. He called himself the first Bob. I'm going to go with the other Bob. I'll give him the first Bob. It's fine. You're my guest.
I have a lot
of
other nicknames, but I don't think I should say them right now. For this. Okay, Bob from idsports.com. We're kind of covering everything. We've been doing MLS soccer and NFL for years, but we're expanding all the time. So if you have people who know NFL, NHL hockey, we're looking for content creators anytime. You can find us at I80_sports on Twitter, idsports.com, or youtube.com/I80sports. Bob, thanks for having us all here today.
Hey, no problem, guys. Thank you. If you're watching on the YouTube, don't forget to subscribe, hit the notification bell so you don't miss anything. If you're listening to on the replay on the podcast audio, be kind. Give me a one of the little 5-star reviews. I greatly appreciate it. Subscribe to the show. So we're not going to waste any more time with the intros. We're going to go into some unpopular values. I'm going to start with Mr. I-80 Sports, Bob, and you are thinking Baker Mayfield.
I am more than thinking Baker Mayfield. I'm all over Baker Mayfield this season. I am a quarterback late guy. That is, I'm CEO of drafting your quarterbacks after round 7 or 8. Like my whole roster's up, and then I'm taking the quarterback. So I'm always looking for those guys around quarterback 10 to 15 that are going to make a difference on my roster. And for me, that's Baker Mayfield this year. Okay. I love knocking him because he was so bad at the beginning of last season. The first 8 games, garbage. His head wasn't in it. He was on commercials on every game, and he just wasn't putting up the stats. Sophomore slump was over the last 9 games of the season from weeks 9 on. He was quarterback 9 over that span, 1,864 yards, 15 touchdowns, and 9 interceptions from week 9 on. Settled in, got it out of his system, and the next year is going to be even better. They have an improved offensive line. They got Jack Conklin from Tennessee. If you guys know offensive line, you know Jack Conklin is a name guy, one of the best in protection in the league. They also grabbed Jedrick Wills, left tackle from Alabama. to watch the blind sign there. And new offensive line coach Bill Callahan is all in the game to make Baker Mayfield's life and Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt's life a whole lot easier in 2020. Improved weapons. They got Austin Hooper. OBJ's back to full health. Jarvis Landry just balls out. Like, you gotta get on this season. I'm also want to talk just a little bit about the coach. Stefanski and head coach did a great job with Kirk Cousins over in Minnesota. And just a couple of reasons Baker Mayfield is not to be slept on. I've seen a lot of mock drafts with great rosters, and people say, "Oh, it's great, but you have Baker." And I'm looking at that like, no, that's a great roster, and you got Baker.
Okay.
Going quarterback 12, it's value.
Yeah, quarterback 12 is way down in no man's land. If you're drafting, that is, can I find him easy? Quarterback 9, 10, 11. Well, it's round nine or so. So, yeah, you got your whole lineup pretty well set. You even started hitting the bench at that point. So, not bad at all. Not bad. So, he is a good unpopular opinion for you because you feel like people are sleeping on him.
Absolutely.
All right. Anybody love that, hate that? Any thoughts on that?
I'm not a big Baker Mayfield guy,
totally
but I'm
want
with.
to talk about that. I was just love adding the offensive line aspect that you brought to that topic, and that is what is going to help Baker feel a lot more comfortable in that pocket. And I'm all about. I didn't get enough Baker shares, but I got OBJ and Nick Chubb shares, and I'm very pleased with those shares.
Okay. And Detroit BC, you were leaning the other way, it sounded like.
Well, here's my thing. I'm not a fan of Baker Mayfield, but I'm with Bob as far as waiting till 10th plus round to draft a quarterback. I'm one of those guys, and it just makes sense given the fact that if you look around, Baker's ADP is at like 135, so we're talking 13th round, middle of the 13th round. That's a sweet spot for him or any other quarterback in that kind of range. If you look down the list, Kirk Cousins is going at 164, Wentz is 106. These are all ADPs, by the way. Dak is at 63.7 is ADP. That's too rich for my blood, but I'm not one to take a quarterback too early. If I miss out on the studs like let's say what's his name, Lamar, Patrick, then I'll wait. I could care less. I get Matthew Stafford in the 15th round and have 5,000 yards and 30 touchdowns. Hopefully.
There you go. So Bob, it sounds like we're hoping for all the hype we had last year to actually come true this year. I think that's what we're going for, right? Without having to pay for it though this year.
3/4 of the hype, and I'm happy.
Okay. Yeah, especially at the price this year compared to last year.
Absolutely.
So, all right. Next up, we'll go to Chris with Zach Ertz. You are unpopularly high on him or unpopularly low? That's a tricky word to say.
Yeah, I'm low on him, and I've always been honest and transparent with everybody, especially my readers. I completely missed the bus on this one. I thought we were getting together to chat and have some fun. And I remember my comment in the chat, and someone sent me a screenshot, and I just said Ertz out of a panic, And while Bob was talking Baker Mayfield, I made a list like this long of guys that they're unpopular players and that we don't like. But we could talk Ertz real quick. Looking at him now, his ADP is about 51.8, so 5th rounder. So again, I treat tight ends the same way I do quarterbacks. Like if I miss out on Kittle and Kelsey, I'm just going to wait. There is so much value and so many good players, breakout candidates, young guys. We don't know how it's going to shake out. I wouldn't even mind drafting a tight end, my last pick after defense and kicker, streaming the position, working the waiver wire. So when it comes to Ertz, I love the guy. He's got a ton of heart. His work ethic is through the roof. And in Philadelphia this season with Wentz and Miles Sanders, and you got the rookie Rieger there, he's going to have ample opportunity to live up to that ADP. And I think he's a good selection there, just not for me.
Okay. All right. So you don't want to pay that price, basically.
No, thank you.
I get that. Kevin, you trying to jump in there? Is that what that was?
I agree with Detroit Beastie there in terms of his ADP, because you don't want to take him if you're not getting Kels or Kittle. You need to wait, and you need to go like T.J. Hawkinson is somebody that I'm targeting late in drafts. That guy's been kind of thrown to the wayward and just say, hey, who cares about T.J. Hawkinson? But according to Fantasy Pros, he's going 16th tight end overall. So that's a guy. I mean, I drafted him, I think, in the 15th or 16th round or 17th round of like a really small 10-man league. And I loved it. And that was my only tight end I took. And so I was able to fill my roster with other guys and got T.J. Hawkinson, who could still get in that top 8 of tight ends, I think. I feel like he can, especially after the first few games he had last year. Even Jonnu Smith, I know everybody's loving him from the Titans, and I love him too. Even Dallas Goedert, I'd rather grab those guys towards the bottom of the draft than Zach Ertz.
All right. Yeah, we
Real
just
quick.
Go ahead.
Sorry to cut you off. Real quick, looking at it, Kevin, TJ, his ADP is like 144.3. So that's the 14th round. That's outstanding value. And Jonnu Smith is right behind him at 149. So you're talking just on the cusp of the 15th round. That's a no-brainer. So if I wait to take a tight end until the 14th or 15th round, that means I've just loaded up on the other offensive skill positions, running back heavy, rookie wide receiver heavy. So it just makes your job in the draft a lot easier when you wait on certain positions.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yep. All right. Let's move.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
Does anyone else feel like there's like a resurgence in the tight end position coming in the next couple of years? Because it seemed really barren there for the 3 or 4 seasons.
I was just about to say that.
Yeah. This year has definitely been.
This is a great topic. I really.
There's a lot of them.
Absolutely. I agree with that 100% because how long can Kittle and Kelsey carry the load of the whole tight end position?
So my thought is, with this tight end position, I am in agreement with both of you guys. So I haven't touched Ertz all year, but I have plenty of Goddard shares. And
if you want to see
I can't tell you how many different times I've seen that.
If you want to see some really funky stats, look up Zach Ertz home away splits. It's like a stat that you wouldn't necessarily think has any effect on the tight end position, but it is stark. It is like a tale of two different players. If you look at the last 2 years of home away splits, it's ridiculous.
I made a comment probably a month ago about Dallas Goedert in Philadelphia being the heir apparent to.
Well, that's going to be funny this season, though, because there isn't going to be any home fans or away fans, really, it sounds like. So it's just going to be normal football without fans. I don't even know how I can even put normal and fans with all that together.
Yeah. We'll get into the COVID stuff and the effect that's going to have, I think, a little later in the show. And I think you still add the travel
for sure.
The home thing, and you know that they're going to be pumping plenty of noise in against your offense and things like that. So we'll see how that goes. Trust your board says Janu. Thank you, sir, and Mr. P2W gives us a big what's
Nick.
up. What's going on, sir?
That's Nick at P2W. Shout out to him.
Good man, both of them. All right, let's move over to Kevin with the boys, and let's talk about David Montgomery.
Yeah, so I'm unpopularly high on David Montgomery, I think, just because of his ADP. So when I'm not looking at it from his last year of where he was getting drafted or where guys took him. So he's getting drafted as running back 24, 54th overall, and guys that are going ahead of him that I necessarily wouldn't draft is Singletary, Connor, David Johnson. I'm not as high on David Johnson as others are. I just don't know if he's going to be able to come back from what his season was last year. And if you look at his backfield right now, you got Montgomery, and then you got Tariq Cohen. And after that, you have 3 undrafted free agents. So you got Ryan Nall, Artavius Pierce, Napoleon Maxwell, guys that aren't really going to get any run unless there's an injury. And overall, Montgomery is the guy in that backfield. Last season, he was around 200, I think it was 249 carries, attempts. I think he could even get in that 260 carries category this season. So if you're looking for volume and you're looking for opportunity, Montgomery's the guy to get it. Singletary's going to have to deal with Zach Moss. Connor, is he going to stay injured? Is he not? David Johnson, same thing. So those are guys that I would take I wouldn't take over Montgomery. Also, some guys talk about Tariq Cohen as being a guy that could really take a lot away from him, maybe receiving wise, but he's never had more than 99 carries in his career. So if you're still looking at, I think he's going to take away carries, Montgomery's not going to lose carries from him. And there's a chance you could see if he just gets his yards per carry at 3.3 or 0.4, not even a full yard, he could get into that 1,100 yards category just by the carries that he gets. So if you're looking at it from a production standpoint, I'm looking at Montgomery as a guy you're going to get in that running back 24, and he could produce top numbers for you and help you out on your fantasy team.
Does he feel very Jordan Howard to you right now? Locked into that ton of workload, ton of yardage.
Yeah. I mean, I have Jordan Howard a lot too. So that probably, because you're looking at production. Hey, he's locked in. They didn't get anybody. So one thing that shows me is either Nagy believes in Montgomery. So he said, hey, that's our guy. We're going to ride him this year. Now he's going to get the volume. It's up to him to produce the volume. So he's got to be able to produce, and I can't produce for him, but I think he can. I think and like PTW talked about with receptions, he can't eat 2 receptions, but they're going to need to run the ball. And Cohen's not going to be the guy that runs the ball. I think if Nick Foles gets the job, I think that it's going to put less pressure on Montgomery because I think Nick Foles is going to be a better quarterback for them, and he'll see less 8-man boxes. And so I really think that he's going to be able to produce.
Okay.
Let me say something real quick, if I may. So when you look at Nick at P2W,
I love David Montgomery.
He's me
fan.
too. He says, do you think that Tariq Cohen's going to eat away the receptions? Well, absolutely. If you look at Tariq Cohen's last 2 seasons, he had 71 receptions, and he had 79 receptions last season. So it's almost basically set in stone that he's going to have. I have him around 72, 73 receptions this season compared to David Montgomery. I have him at about 24, 25, but they're 2 different players. They have 2 different games, just like New England. So Sony Michel gets all the running work, and James White is the receiving PPR stud. So it depends on how you want to build your roster. Let's say, do you want to maybe skip out on drafting David Montgomery at his ADP at 42, and then you're able to draft Robert Woods, AJ Brown, DK Metcalf instead, and then you can wait 5 rounds and draft Cohen for a ton of receptions. So it depends on what you're trying to do, and that speaks volumes to your draft plan.
I agree with that 100%. And we're going to slide over to Mr. Don over there. And I'm hoping that you're unpopularly high on this guy, because it feels like a lot of people are popularly low on Mr. Leonard Fournette.
Oh, I like that.
As you can see, I'm rocking my Jaguar gear. Been a Jag fan since the beginning. Now, I'm not biased in this. I just want to throw out some numbers, and I'm popularly for him. I have him on a lot of my teams, and I believe it's because of the focal point he brings to that offense. And what is dynasty or fantasy football about? It's the numbers and the amount he can the opportunities, if you will. So just to start off, he was a 4th overall pick in 2017. The Jaguars did not pick up the option, which who would? You're basically picking up an option near $10 million on a running back. Now you go look at the market value, 4 years, $27 million. Do we really think he's going to get $10 million a year? He better have a heck of a season after this year to get that. But to my point, his numbers over the last 48 games, people have talked about his injuries. Well, in fact, only 8 of those games have actually been injuries in comparison to the other 4 that he missed because of the 2 suspensions. He was benched in one of them, and then this past year he was held out at the end of the season. So when you talk about injured player, it's not like people talk about, and I think he's getting a bad rap because of it. And he really, really is. And just to give you his 2-year average, his rookie year in 2017 and 2019, his 2-year average, 14 games, 267 carries, 1,100 yards. This is his 1 knock, 5.5 touchdowns. I believe that is going to go up this year. And then add in the 56 receptions, 400 yards, and that measly one receiving touchdown. Chris Thompson, yes, will make in and come in and take up some of that reception time, but I still believe that the yardage and the carries are there, and that's what you look for in a running back one on your team. And that's guys. That's kind of my rant on Leonard Fournette. It really feels good to do it too. But I mean, please, if you guys.
So Leonard Fournette looks like he's sitting around the end of the third round. So right around the turn of the third round. So if you went running back, wide receiver, and back to running back, that's not a bad second running back at all for you, right there in that range. Some flexibility in the next turn to grab another guy.
Definitely not.
Not bad at all.
And a really interesting stat.
In a draft I was just in, and
a really interesting stat for Leonard Fournette. He is the only player in the NFL to have 100% of his team's carries inside the 5-yard line last season. Only player in football to have 100% of the carries inside the 5. That touchdown number is going to go up.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah. Got to make some
I
of them.
believe that was the offensive coordinator's fault. Horrible play calling.
All right. Anybody else loving or hating on Fournette?
I love Leonard Fournette. He's the kind of running
just
back
want
I
to say
want
before
on
you
my
guys
team.
answer that. I just was in a league. I just got Leonard Fournette at the 5. I'm pretty sure it was in the 6th round, guys. It's bad.
Wow, that's a steal. That's a steal.
Yeah, I got him at 5.13 in a 14-team league, and everyone laughed at it. And I'm like, you got to be kidding me. That's my first running back in the 5th round. I'll take it all day.
There you go. All right, we're going to slip over to my turn, Ski. And I'm going with Mr. Devin Singletary. So people hate on Devin Singletary because the new running back's in town. And I get it because they hate on him because Josh Allen got all the touchdowns. And I look at it as Josh Allen only got the touchdowns because Frank Gore couldn't finish it. But then you say, okay, well, Moss is 5'9", 223 being back, and about 40 years younger than Frank Gore. All right, I can respect that. And so he's going to smash them all in the end zone, steal them from Josh Allen to begin with, and not leave anything for Singletary. And that could be 100% true. But I think Moss might get some of the same treatment Singletary got around the end zone last year, and that's that trust factor from the coach. And I think Singletary breaking off, his what did he average, 5.1 a carry, those kind of things. I think he's going to get more love around the end zone and get some of that touchdown bonuses, some extra touchdowns versus sitting the sideline when that play is going on. So I'm gonna take the chance and snag him and let the others snag Moss. All right, I'm ready. Punch me, beat me up.
No, what I would say is, last year I was big on Singletary. I got him everywhere because as I was scouting college, I was looking for those guys. And you could get them in like the late rounds and everything. So I have a lot of my dynasty teams. I am worried about Moss to an extent because he could take that Gore role like you were talking about, and he has it there. And as Detroit Beastie was talking about where he's at in his ADP, it really depends on if you believe and he can be that running back for you on your roster. So when you're building it, can he be that guy? Because like you said, he's going that same kind of category as DK Metcalf, Chark, Hilton, even Mark Ingram. Maybe Mark Ingram would be a better shot this year. I know J.K. Dobbins is there, but those are the guys that you got to kind of worry about when you're drafting a guy like Singletary. But he has the PPR. He could catch the ball and he's good in space and he did great in college. So I believe in him. I just get worried about the targets. I just don't know if he's going to get the volume you would need.
Yeah, I'm looking here, and right before him is DJ Moore. So if you went running back, you're stealing DJ Moore. You might be able to snag Singletary because that's right at the 4-5 turn, right around 49-50. So that could be interesting there, right?
Yeah.
Here's a little question from.
I would. Oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
Just to step in there, I'd be worried about the other running back on that roster that no one mentioned, and that's Josh Allen, who, if you look at the combined touchdowns over the last season, I think he had 4 altogether. Look at the rushing touchdowns for the last 2 years from Josh Allen, 8 and 9. That's double each season what the running back did there. So that would
'cause
be
he can't
my
throw the ball.
worry. The last stat I gave for
Well,
Fournette was rushes inside the 5. He was the only player to do the rushes inside the 5. Most teams' second leading rusher inside the 5-yard line is actually the quarterback, and that would be my hesitation there on Buffalo.
Yeah, that's a very good point. EDA asked a question and a comment. He says Yeldon greater than Chris Thompson. Stays
Thompson
alive
not
longer.
close.
So
I mean,
you like
not
Thompson
close.
better than Yeldon. I like Thompson when he's on
I
the
don't
field.
know.
If Thompson can stay healthy, yeah.
I like
Yeah.
Thompson better because I'm a Jaguar fan, and he's a Jag.
And then EDA's next comment: Moss is a bowling ball and cleats, which is a little dangerous also for
I
Singletary.
agree with that.
See, that's just another reason that my bad.
If I
take
owned
would just be a bad
Singletary,
take.
I made sure to
Find
get
out.
Moss.
That's why it's unpopular. Very unpopular, I think. All right. What we got here? We're going to do a quick listener league promotion. So we have the listener league. We have 3 spots still to give away for it. It's going to be an auction league on Yahoo. It's going to be a lot of fun. 12-teamer. I have 2 spots left to give away. If you go on Apple iTunes and 5-star review the show and screenshot that to me at Bob's3Toad, you get into the drawing to see if you can make it into the league. And then the last entry will be for someone who makes some kind of video, paragraph, I don't care what, song, I don't care what it is, something somewhat creative to tell why you deserve to be in the league. And it needs to include something from the show in it to show that, I didn't just run into this random post and jump in. So I've seen a couple interesting entries there. So.
If I may say, I've written quite a few, and they weren't just for no reason. It's because I genuinely
I got 50 leagues already.
I genuinely, and it's for nothing.
Thing.
I don't want a spot in the league. I don't want any money. I just wanted to thank you because you're a great man and a great podcast. So thank you for flying me out to Denver the first time I did your show. The accommodations were top notch. So thank you, Bob.
Everybody's like, wait a minute, I didn't get that treatment.
Yeah, wait.
That might not be a true story, but it was a good one. I liked it. So, all right, we are going to slide back over to Mr. Chris, Mr. Detroit Beastie, and we're going to go with Brandon Cooks. All you, buddy.
Brandon Cooks. What can I say about Cooks? So, I'll be honest again. It's not that I didn't know much about him. It's I cared to do any research about him because I just felt like he was always hurt. He was always injured. I had this preconceived notion, the genuine judging a book by its cover. Mm-hmm. And then when I looked into it, Brandon Cooks has been pretty damn productive, and he's only missed 2 games, if I'm not mistaken, for injury-related complications. So Brandon Cooks to me is a buy. Now it's one of those things where I've talked myself into, really loving and wanting Brandon Cooks, and I think he's going to absolutely flourish in Houston this year. And if you look at his ADP, he's at basically can round up and call it 75, so middle of the 7th round. I have no problem with that. Hopefully you don't draft him in the 7th round as your wide receiver 1. It depends on the format, I guess, but we'll leave that for another discussion. But if you look at the situation he's in Houston, and this might come across as like lazy analysis or that I haven't even studied or prepared for this, Will Fuller, nothing against the guy. I just don't think he's going to be able to stay on the field. You got David Johnson there now. Deshaun Watson is an absolute stud at quarterback. So I expect big things from Brandon Cooks this season, and I have no issue drafting him after my self-created nonsense and judging a book by its cover.
All right. So yeah, I'm showing him 79th, which is mid-late in the 7th. Yeah, right in the 7th round. Yeah, so it's pretty deep. You're taking a nice little shot there. Anybody got any thoughts on Brandon Cooks? Are we loving him? We hating him?
I like the pick in the 7th round, but I would not take him earlier. You mentioned games. He is just a baller. He's playing hurt all the time, and that's what we like to see. A player, he's a little sore. He's still on the field. What I don't like is the reason why he missed games throughout his career, and that's the 5 concussions. He's one knock over the middle from Deshaun throwing him a hospital ball from his career being done. So take him in the 7th. Don't take him in the 6th.
You just call that a hospital ball?
I did. It's a term in soccer. It's a very popular term in soccer. I don't think it needs a description. You guys know what a hospital ball is, right? It's like that Austin Collie shit right over the center.
I love it. I've never heard it before, but no, I love it. I might have to steal that phrase wherever you got it from. I enjoy it.
He had the Austin Collie reference. Wowza.
I know it sounds crazy, but I bought Deshaun Watson in the league. I drafted him, and I passed on Cooks as tagging, matching them up when I could. It's just so hard to fall in love with what Bill O'Brien might pull off over there with David Johnson. If he goes down, now they become one-dimensional, and Deshaun's been getting sacked after sacked after sacked. Brandon Cooks could be, like you said, running down the middle, get a ball thrown to him. Deshaun's out and Cooks is out in the same breath. But that's just my humble opinion.
All right.
So
Well,
I just want to jump in real quick. Oh, sorry, Detroit.
Yeah.
No,
please.
have at it. I'll wait.
No, I agree with you in terms of drafting him or you get him in the 7th round, take him. I don't know if you guys know who Adam Hutchinson is. He's a really good injury guru guy. He writes for the Undroppables, and he wrote a really good article about Brandon Cooks that I really liked. I really respected. I respect Adam a lot. And he talks about rate of recurrence with the concussions. And he talks about a player that suffers 3 or more concussions is like 60% more likely to get a concussion the next time he gets hit. And he also has a really good stat in here about correlation between elevation and concussions. So he goes and breaks that down. And if you have any reservations about Cooks, I would just definitely take a look at his article because he does a really good job of breaking it down. He's way smarter than I am in terms of injuries and what he's doing. And if you look at that stuff, I mean, I drafted him. We're in a league, and Adam in our league together, and I drafted him, and he gave me all kinds of shit for it. But I think Cook's volume and what he could have in the Texans, like you talked about, is exactly what you want. You just don't want him to get hit really hard.
Yeah. Oh, the door is wide open with Hopkins.
I guess
Wide open.
it just comes down to value. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
So here's the couple players that are
Yeah, I
surrounding.
guess for me,
talk value.
I'm not trying to trade for him.
No. So we got Sony Michel at 76 on this particular ADP. We got Aaron Rodgers. We got Rob Gronkowski. Then we got Brandon Cooks. So that's the 3 guys you got to take in front of him. I can't say that I would jump on any of those 3. After him, you got Kareem Hunt. That's not a bad standalone running back or possibly handcuff for your team. You got Kerryon Johnson, who's supposed to be a starting running back down at running back 32. And then you got Julian Edelman at wide receiver 34, slipping in behind him, who could have plenty of peppered targets, or he could start showing his age and slowing down. TBD right there. But that's the group you're in, and to me, that's the one that would be the shiniest to me in that little group.
So. It took me 2 seconds to find this, and if you look at it, this is Brandon Cooks, by the way, from 2015 to 2018, so 4 seasons in a row. He had 1,000+ yards and 5 or more touchdowns in each of those seasons. He had 50+ receptions in each one of those seasons, or 60+ receptions, and he had a 50-yard touchdown or more in each of those seasons. In 2000, I believe it's 16, his longest was a 98-yard touchdown.
Hospital balls. That's hilarious.
All right, so Eddie A says, Bob, come on, man. The other Bob, Boston doesn't throw hospital balls. Go Tigers.
Oh, that's a guy on my podcast. That's Eddie. He's one of our college football gurus.
Nice. Don't know flack at you. I love it. We're going to throw one more out there.
Hey,
Cobb greater than Cooks.
I love it too.
I don't know about that one, but we'll see. We'll see. Dant Gutiz.
No, stop that. But I mean, if you're talking hell.
All right. Let's slide over to Don with here's one that's not getting a lot of love this year. Jamison Crowder. Don. You all right there, Don? Jamison Crowder. He may have froze. Oh, there he is.
Am I here?
Yeah, Jamison Crowder, Don.
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Uh-oh, we lost him.
Good. Sorry, I had a little bit of a internet thing go down for a second. Yes, Jamison Crowder, I've seen slip actually really far down the draft boards, and not sure why everyone's so against him. Now I get it; he's never really ever has over 100 yards a game, so I'm more of a PPR guy. But that being said, he's 27 years old. He played all 16 games last year. He scored 6 times in the last 9 games. No Sam Darnold from weeks 2 through 5. But when he did have Sam Darnold, he had 98 targets for 7.5 targets per game with, Darnold actually being in there, not having mono. Now, Crowder is the veteran number 1 for the Jets. And kind of to the point I made earlier, fantasies about having the targets, the snaps, the carries, the opportunities, just get as much as you can on that field at all times. And I think as a wide receiver 3 with wide receiver 2 potential, only because Denzel Mims, I think, is really going to open up for him, and a healthy Chris Herndon can help some things down the seam for Jameson underneath. So I just think if you guys are seeing him down there, you start to see that teardrop, which we all know there is. He's a very, very sneaky guy to grab if you're drafting on like sleeper. He's kind of just sitting in the wings down there with some guys that don't make any sense to be with. That's my little tidbit. ADP 141.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's great for those 3 wide receiver leagues to slide right in there as your 3rd wide receiver.
I feel like he's a really safe guy, not a really big guy, right?
I'm a fan of Jamison Crowder. I got into a heated conversation with somebody on Twitter about who is the New York Jets wide receiver 1. I said Crowder, and I took all this flack because the guy he's shorter and he plays out of the slot. And I said, I don't care where he plays on the field. His position is still a wide receiver. He caught 78 passes last year for 833 yards, caught 6 touchdowns. I could see a season, this coming season, very similar. 75 receptions, 800 yards, and 5 touchdowns again. And like Don said, that is perfect, prototypical for a wide receiver 3 on your team. What more do you want from a wide receiver 3? It's outstanding.
Yeah. You go in you're talking about the 11th round there. I mean, that's dart throw time, to a lot of people. So anybody else got any Crowder love or hate?
Yeah, I'm in New York, so I'm actually in New Jersey. I'm about 10 minutes away from New York City, and we don't hear about Crowder over here either. All the news is on everyone else. But I'll tell you what, Sam Darnold, not a big fan, but James Crowder is that safety blanket. He's going to find himself open. He's going to find the ball in his hands when the Jets need to move. I like him. I agree.
We don't even hear him in our own town. I love it.
If you look a little closer, last season he had 122 targets. What does that tell you? That he's like Darnold's safety blanket, right? 122 targets is nothing to sneeze at.
No.
Anything over 100 is fantastic. So again, I can't say it enough. Wide receiver 3. What more do you want? And on a lighter note, I'm a big Sam Darnold guy.
All right.
Well, that makes
I
sense.
love Sam Darnold. Sam Darnold's my guy too. I've been getting him everywhere this offseason.
I think maybe I just hear too much about him to really be on the hype train. Does that make sense? Like when you hear his name every single day, in and out, his face is on buses, his face is on I'm good.
Who do you guys want more long term? And I'll ask you, Bob, since you're in New York. You want Danny Dimes, Daniel Jones, or Sam Darnold? Who would you prefer long term?
I'm going to take Daniel Jones all day, every day, and twice on Sunday. He does have some quickness on the ground. He has the fumbles, but that he's been working, just duct tape the ball to his hand. I absolutely think he's going to take care of that. And plus, he's just a more exciting player to watch, isn't he? To me,
yeah. Yes and no. And in my projections that I haven't published yet, because I think it's too early. higher than him in terms of touchdowns and passing yards and rushing yards. But I wouldn't, if given the chance, I would go Daniel Jones. But again, maybe if you catch me on an off day, I'd draft Arnold, and I wouldn't be that upset about it.
Absolutely.
I like me some Danny Dimes, boys. Not gonna lie, Danny Dime it up. Add Darius Slayton with him.
Okay.
It's a good player to add to the list too.
All right, let's slide over. Oh, hold on. Your boy's heckling. There's heckle number 1. Says Daniel Jones all day. That's not really a heckle. But here's the heckle. I hate the Giants.
People see New Jersey.
So I guess he likes the Giants.
I'll take Daniel Jones all day, but I hate the Giants.
I mean,
Exactly.
hey, I hear you,
By-
brother.
Only
By the
North
looks of it,
Jersey is Jets Giants. If you go to South Jersey or anywhere out west, these Philly fans, man, they creep in. It's like
Philly fans. Oh.
The worst.
The worst
The
fans
worst.
in the world. Right there. You just don't even talk about Philly on this podcast.
There it is.
Sports hero fictional.
Cowboys fan.
But I think we can give a shout out to Bills Mafia. They come hard.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah, right onto the
I mean,
table on the concrete.
Yeah.
There was
I
a
mean,
story,
slamming-
there was a story, I think, for the playoffs. Who did they play? Texas at one time. They were wherever they were for the playoffs. I can't even remember.
They were playing the Jaguars in Jacksonville. I was
Yeah,
in,
and they
was in that parking lot.
Walmart. Every Walmart in Jacksonville sold out of tables, like a folding tables.
Damn.
Dude, I didn't even have tickets. I just wanted to be in the parking lot.
There you go. All right, we're gonna slip over to that Cowboys fan, Mr. Kevin, Mr. Du Bois, 22, and wait, that's a Zeke reference after all, isn't it?
The boys 22, Emmitt Smith.
Oh yeah, Evan Smith. Yeah, sorry.
The double deuce.
All right, so we're gonna go with Juju McShoe. Sure.
Ooh.
Yeah, so let's talk about Juju a little bit. And again, this is just based on ADP and based on kind of what my feelings are. I think right now he's getting, according to Fantasy Pros, he's the 12th wide receiver taken. He's 33rd overall. So not high enough, I think, that he was going last year. Last year he was going first, second round, and he got a lot of fantasy managers pretty pissed at him. But some reasons why I would say I would take him this year is, Ben Roethlisberger is coming back, and I know everybody says, well, it's not just about Big Ben, and I get that. But, last year, Mason Rudolph and Devlin Hodges, if you looked at their stats, they actually averaged negative net expected points. That means when they drop back, they're every time they drop back, their team was going to have a negative play. And the other guys on that list were Josh Rosen, David Blau, Dwayne Haskins, Nick Foles, Daniel Jones, Joe Flacco, and Jeff Driscoll. So that's according to Fantasy Pros, and they're talking
Go
about
Gators.
So when I'm looking at that, then I'm also looking at they were dead last in rushing attempts, and we knew that the rushing attempts weren't great. And then Juju was also hurt. So you had all those things kind of come and hit him full blast. And so he didn't do very well last year. But this year he's going to get Big Ben back. When he had Big Ben in 2018, or excuse me, when he was a rookie, he had 58 receptions, 917 receiving yards, and 7 touchdowns. And then when his breakout season, he had 111 receptions, he had 1,400 yards, and 7 touchdowns. And that's with Big Ben. And I know Antonio Brown was on the field with him in 2018, but he also played predominantly out of the slot that year. And when you look at his slot numbers, he actually – in 2018, he spent about 61% of the time in the slot. And he actually was the 5th best among the players out of the slot when he was there. And with the addition of, they talked about with Claypool coming in and getting drafted, they might actually move Juju back into the slot more often than they did last year. Even though last year he still ran 66% of his routes in the slot, but you really can't take his stats from last year just because of his injuries. And so I could see him, at a pretty easy projection of around 80 catches, 1,000 yards and 6 touchdowns. I think that's in the ballpark for him. Obviously, it's not wide receiver 1 numbers that you'd like to see, but you're not really drafting him as a wide receiver 1. And I got in an argument with a bunch of dudes on fantasy Twitter because it's just successful sometimes about Juju. But, I mean, if you're drafting him now where he's located, those are about numbers that you expect from your wide receiver 2. That's where you're at. Wide receiver 2, wide receiver 1, get him in there, and you're going to get great value with him after the guys that you took before him. And I love Juju. I'm on the Juju train, and I'm going to take him. As long as Big Ben, especially in redraft, you need to grab Juju. In Dynasty, you always got to think about the future with Big Ben, but I'm taking the guy, and I'm gonna make some money this year off of him.
All right, there you go. You can steal him as your fourth pick in the draft, more than likely. So you've already got 2 running backs and a wide receiver, or 2 wide receivers and a running back. So he'd probably be your second or third, wide receiver. That's not shabby. Uh-oh.
I have a quick comment kind of question thing here.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you said if you're drafting Juju, you're not drafting him as your wide receiver 1. Well, if you look at what is he, wide receiver number 11? His ADP is 33. So
I'm seeing him as 43 on the one I'm looking at, but I could be looking at.
Okay. I have a fantasy football calculator up, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So all the guys, Odell, Amari Cooper, DJ Moore, Cooper Kupp. So if you're drafting him, it has to be as your wide receiver 1, unless one of your first 2 or 3 picks are wide receivers too. But most of the time, people go in a super flex, quarterback, running back, and then maybe I'm getting it confused with the first wide receiver you draft, but it's not your wide receiver 1. I think they're the exact same thing.
Yeah, I think
Okay.
it is too.
I mean, I think for me, I'm not drafting a running back in the first round. Sometimes I look to find those Fournettes and those other guys, and maybe even like I talked about Montgomery. So I know there's some no running back, drama going on right now. But we're in reality, I'm just looking at it like, hey, if I can get Juju as my second wide receiver on my team, so if I draft, let's say Tyreek, and then let's say I get someone after that in that, Eckler, I like Eckler from the Chargers, like, hey, as a running back from PPR, especially if I can somehow sneak Juju as my second wide receiver in that category, I think that puts me ahead of some other guys that are taking maybe Kenyon Drake and those other guys that I'm not very high on.
That makes a lot of sense. That makes a lot of sense, and it's pretty smart thinking. I applaud you for that, because you and I would guess me now, we're in that camp where I don't think he's going to put up wide receiver 1 numbers, when a lot of people are making that mistake, drafting him in the middle of the second round, let's say, right? Yeah. And expecting him to be their wide receiver 1. Personally, I wouldn't want to be put in that position where Juju is my wide receiver 1 on my fantasy team this season.
No, we're on the same page there.
Awesome. Yeah,
I would love to add just a little bit on this Juju topic.
Yeah.
Just real quick.
Yeah.
I have not drafted Juju once this season, and I've done probably 35 drafts. Whenever I see him and other players in that area, it's hard for me to take someone with so much uncertainty on whether he needs a good quarterback to be successful. And him being my wide receiver 1, I can't have it. But can I squeeze him into a trade later that makes him my wide receiver 2? Absolutely, I agree. I'm on board with you boys on that.
All right. I'll take that. All right. So I'm gonna wrap the player list up with my man, Mr. Amari Pooper. That name is probably not kind, I know, but let's see where he's going, because this is what makes a difference for me. I think he's a very, very, very talented wide receiver. I don't question that for 1 second. So before anybody yells,
he's about 36, 37 overall.
Yeah.
I take Cooper over Juju all day.
So he's right around the end of the third, beginning of the fourth. I can probably stomach him as my wide receiver 2. Easy as my wide receiver 3. Never gonna get him that late. More than likely, I don't know. Maybe he'll drop far enough into the middle of the round if I'm like rolling 8 or 9 in the draft order. I wouldn't mind him at all as my wide receiver 3 if I could sneak him in there, but it's not going to happen. It's just, unless I go really wide receiver heavy in a year, the running backs are supposed to go very early. His highs and his lows are just so far in his career, just too much for me as my main guy. As if I already got that solid, if I've got that Devontae Adams up there, or that Julio Jones up there as my wide receiver 1, I could probably stomach him. It's for the same reason I won't probably grab Tyreek Hill as my wide receiver 1 either, and he's phenomenal. At least his misses are still stomachable. Yeah, the word.
I personally can't do it. about a month or so ago, I wrote a series of Fantasy Heaven and Fantasy Hell players, and Cooper I couldn't get him on my Fantasy Hell list fast enough. and it has nothing to do with him as a human being or what team he plays for. He's just, I find him just to be weak. You trade for him or you draft him, and every game for me, one day you'll start him and he'll score.
He'll score no points. I think that's what it is.
that was
he'll score no points, and then next week he'll score 30. While Detroit Beastie is in the middle of his sneeze, it appears on the screen. Not true, but what's up? He's like, there you're back. He's back. Did we catch the drift? What you're saying? 1 week it's no points. 1 week next week it's 30.
I mean, Amari Cooper only had 4 games where he didn't score double-digit points.
I don't know when I cut out. I apologize. I'm having internet issues, and I called AT&T last night, and they said they're going to send him. He's not here, so what am I to do? So I don't know, not to be unprofessional, but I don't know the last thing you heard me say.
You said 1 week and boom.
Yeah, he'll play 1 week and score 3 touchdowns, and you leave him on the bench because the week prior to that, he was in the starting lineup, and 2 or 3 plays in, he tweaks his ankle and he sits out the rest of the game. And he's on the sideline, standing there with his helmet, wanting to get in, but he just doesn't go back in. I find him to be a weak football player. Nothing against the man, nothing against the Cowboys. He's just it pisses me off and it makes me anxious. And fantasy football to me should be fun, and I should roster and start guys that I like to follow. I don't like him, and I don't like to follow him. So he's fantasy hell to own. Want nothing to do with him.
All right, we're gonna drag Kevin in on this one, I think, because I think we have to. You're the Cowboys fan.
Oh no, you can. But I agree with Detroit Beastie in terms of fantasy, and just Cooper drives me nuts. I mean, I love Cooper because we got him for the first round pick. He was worth that, but he does fade away in games that we need him to actually, produce in. And he's a frustrating player to have. I even talked about it. There's a couple podcast guys that run a Cowboys podcast, and they were talking about it. And they asked a poll, who would you rather have in their career? And I actually would rather have Gallup and CeeDee Lamb going forward on a Dallas Cowboys, because I really believe in Lamb. And he's one of my top rated wide receivers coming out, and I love that we got him. And I love Gallup, and I think Gallup actually can produce higher returns for us than Cooper can. But I'm not touching Cooper. I don't have Cooper on one of my 15 teams that I have. And I'm a Cowboys fan. You think I try to at least get one share, but he's just too volatile for me. And I already hate watching the Cowboys enough. I can't stand watching him not even perform for me on the field. So it just gets to that point where you're just like, I can't do it.
All right. So Don is burning over here. Don is on fire. He's lit up.
I am. I'm going to play devil's advocate for you boys.
Okay, let's do it.
So for his first, you talk about consistency. His first 3 years, he had Derek Carr throwing to him. Now, he only did miss 2 games, and in those 3 years, his first 2 seasons, he compiled 2,300 receiving yards. Now, his first 2 seasons with Dallas, he's only missed 1 game, but back-to-back seasons has accomplished over 1,000 yards, 75-plus catches, and 7 touchdowns or more. I understand your anger on wide receiver 1. I do. But also, he only had 4 games last year where he did not score more than double-digit points. And one of those were a 9.6, so you could even say, to the argument, 3. I understand the wide receiver 1, it's not there, but I wouldn't go off and say he's the plague or hell, as you gentlemen would say. It's just you guys really bash Cooper, and I hate the Cowboys. That's hilarious.
All right. Kevin looked like he had a comment, and then end that comment, add this note to it, Kevin, if you would.
Okay. So one thing I would say about it, like if you can go by stats, that's fine, but I like looking at game splits and seeing how they do. So if you're looking at Cooper, I mean, last year Cooper had 200 yards against Green Bay. And then if you keep going down, so then he had 147 against Minnesota. So after week 10, week 11 against Detroit, he had 3 receptions, 38 yards. Next week against New England, 0 catches, 0 catches. Against Buffalo, he had 8 receptions for 85 yards, and then he had 6 the next for 83 yards. And then in weeks 15 and 16, where you need Cooper to score you points because you're in your fantasy playoffs and championship, that guy had 1 catch for 19 yards and 4 catches for 24 yards. So if you're looking at it from
Jalen Ramsey guarding him in that week.
I don't care if you're wide receiver 1. I don't care who is guarding you. You've got to produce at a higher level than 1 catch for 19 yards. Like I just, as a Cowboy fan,
no, I feel that.
Fan, you got to do something better. I just don't.
No, I feel that, but as a whole is what I meant, and I do get you on that. But I do look at my receivers if they're facing Stephen Gilmore or Tre'Davious White. I even second guess. Okay, I know I'm not going to get blown up numbers this week, and I'm going to have to adjust for that. Because, I mean, we got to be honest, those corners are studs.
Okay.
But you're right. Week 15, he's got to produce more than that. That's ridiculous, and I hate him for it, and I apologize on that.
Yeah, no, I understand that. But
apologizing for something another grown man's doing. I love
it. For me, I'm taking Juju in that range because I think he's around that range, or DJ Moore. I'm taking one of those guys. Even OBJ. I'd rather take Odell Beckham this year than Cooper.
I love OBJ. Talk about it. I love some OBJ. That's
all right. Well,
I'm with you there, and I can't stand OBJ too.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that was a fun little debate. I loved it. What a good way to quasi wrap up the show. We're towards the end. Real quick, Kevin, answer Eddie A's little 3 wide receiver in Dallas. How would you rank the 3 wide receivers in Dallas this year?
Yeah, that's tough. I mean, I probably go Gallup. I love Gallup. I think Gallup. They're talking about trading Gallup to the New York Jets for Jamont. Don't do it. Like Cowboys do not do it. I think Gallup.
God.
I think Gallup, and I think Cooper, and then I think Lamb will come in third, just because I just don't trust rookies this year, especially with all the stuff going on. But Gallup can easily finish as Dallas's wide receiver 1. There's no. I can't. I'm not going to sit here and say you can't.
Right.
Dallas's offense is like on steroids. Let's not play games.
Yeah, they do look really good. Hell's Angel over on YouTube says Cooper, wide receiver 10 PPR. I'll take that all day. And on this one, he's wide receiver 14. So if you'll take him wide receiver 10, you'll definitely take him at wide receiver 14, Hell's Angel. And I will let him have you in the draft. I'll let you have him in the draft. So
he'll end up trading him. I know this character, and he's going to trade him immediately. So don't let him fool you.
All right, so you got it. You heard him. All right, why don't we go around the room real quick? We'll remind everyone where you can all be found, and we will start with Kevin.
Yeah, you can find me on Twitter. My @name's right there, @DuBois_22. You can find me on hammercast.com. I'm talking about Devi and all the articles on there. I'll start writing some Dynasty stuff there. And mainly you can just kind of connect with me on Twitter, and we go from there.
Awesome. Yeah, I had help me out. I just drew a blank.
Hammerjacks?
Yeah, I had Hammerjacks on my show right around your one of your early shows, and he dropped some great knowledge. So
I need to be on a show with him because he talks about barbecue, don't he?
He's a big barbecue guy.
Barbecue.
Oh yeah, we need to get down on that action. I'm talking to my computer screen. My bad.
That's all right. Bob, let's slide it over to you, sir.
All right. Thanks again for having us. Bob at I80 Sports. You can find me at I80_sports on all social media. You can go to our Facebook discussion board where you can find us at i80sports.com or at youtube.com/I80 Sports. Thanks again for having me tonight.
Absolutely. Let's slide over to Don.
Hey, again, thank you for having me on tonight. You guys can find me at the tag on below. I also have IDP articles coming out every other day with each new team. I also have my first edition, the Ultimate Victory IDP rankings out as well. And you can find this all at 3coastsports.com. Follow us on Twitter. And I really hope you guys enjoy it. My next edition will be having rookies as well. So it'll be 300 deep IDP rankings.
Damn. Why don't you go ahead and say that app for us for those listening on the replay on audio only?
The at
Twitter.
Piccolo. Oh, okay, yeah, at Piccolo FFIDP.
All right.
And
Piccolo, fantasy football IDP.
Yep.
All right. And almost last, but certainly not least,
Me?
Detroit Beastie. As you.
Yeah, thank you. You could find me on Twitter. My handle's at the bottom at Detroit Beastie, or you can find my content and my work at dfscheatsheet.com or on Twitter at dfscheatsheet1 on Twitter. I know this is a football podcast. We're talking seasonal stuff, but if any of you guys watching or any of you guys here are into DFS, FanDuel, DraftKings, swing by my page. I'm big into DFS, all the major sports, and we're about to hit warp speed on content with all the, with hockey coming back, baseball starts tomorrow. So come check me out on Twitter at Detroit Beastie. I never put anyone down. I'm always willing to have a good conversation. And I've said it a million times. What's the point of all this if we're not loving and supporting each other? Guys, it was a pleasure finally talking to you and seeing your faces after a lot of interactions and things of that nature on Twitter. So happy to be here. And Bob, thanks for having me again. I think I'm in the mood to write another stellar review.
You're funny. All right. I appreciate everybody coming on the show. I appreciate everybody who was on the stream, adding comments, those listening on the replay. Appreciate that as well. I can be found on Twitter at Bob's Three Toed, on YouTube at Bob's Three Toed Warriors. You can listen to new shows that drop on Monday and Thursday mornings before you're awake or just as you're coming home from the bars. And it's on YouTube and everywhere podcasts can be found. You can watch the Fantasy Football Hump Day Happy Hour on Wednesdays at 8 p.m. Central. And that's it for this show. It's been Bob's Three Toed Warriors. And I'm going to see if I can do this right the first time. Chris, Don, Kevin, and the first Bob. Reminding you soon enough you'll be able to hit the waiver wire, set your lineups, and dominate your opponents. Till next time, see ya.